I woke up one day, it was a Monday morning, and I couldn't move my arm. Couldn't move it at all. I thought it was a rotator cuff injury. I could not move it one bit. I couldn't move it an inch. And I called Dr. Jan. I said, Dr. Jan, I said, can you recommend an orthopedist? And he said, well, what are your symptoms? And I told him, I said, I can't move my arm at all. I said, it's very painful. There's just no movement. He said, why don't you just come in? I said, all right, I'll come in. He took my arm and he said, let me have control of it. He's like, don't lift it, don't do anything. And he lifted it up. He's like, if you had a rotator cuff injury, I wouldn't be able to do this. I think you have a pinched nerve. So he checked my back and everything, and he made a little adjustment. And almost instantaneously, I was able to move my arm, maybe a quarter of an inch and an inch, just by the one adjustment. And it's completely healed. It's 100% better now,
I first started my treatments a year and a half ago, where I came here with a pinched nerve where my right arm was completely immobile. I started with Dr. Lefkowitz for about 3 months, and then I continued with Dr. Newhouse for the following year. And over the course of the next 3 months, the numbness moved down the arm, eventually to my hand. And by the 3-month mark, I had full function of my hand again. I sit in front of a computer screen all day long, and I suffer the problem of everybody in this world today, where with your hand on the mouse, your shoulders roll forward, left hand on the keyboard, right hand on the mouse. So as a result of the shoulders being forward for so many years, I don't need to offer subjective testimony. I can give you objective in terms of the range of motion. They've restored about 75% of my range of motion in terms of number of degrees that I can move my head up, turn to the side.
2.5 years ago, I was in the beginning of my second pregnancy, and I felt that I had pulled something or done something to my hip and was in pain for a couple of weeks and misdiagnosed by a physical therapist before I thought to call Jan. With my first delivery, the baby was facing up, which means that her hard, big head was pressing against my spine, and so I was very focused on having that not happen again the second time because it was so painful. So Jan and I worked together to make sure that things were aligned so that she couldn't get stuck in that wrong position, so that she could move freely and face the right way and turn all the way around in order to travel. One point late in the pregnancy, we did see on an ultrasound that this baby too was facing the wrong way, and I immediately came in to Jan and said, let's do something, and he even saw me after hours as a favor to make sure that she would turn, and then the day that I in fact did give birth, I went straight from his office to the hospital for an ultrasound, and she was facing the right way, and I gave birth later that night.
And it's not just about, adjustments or anything. It's about the whole package. It's about, your health and being healthy, being of sound mind, the whole, the body and balance.
As I began to become more aware of my own body, the idea that they could pull me back to 80% of full kick capacity, my wife and I changed our retirement plans from, rather than just retiring to an adult community in about 8 years from now, we're going to actually have an active retirement where we're going to be moving to Europe for about 10 to 15 years, depending on how long my body is able to hold out. And we'll be sightseeing and having a full active life, thanks to their capability of pulling me back from the brink.